Scoop, live from West Roseville, back here to the show. Oh,
I don't know where that is. New York is home, but if it's anything like Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I'm glad to be with you nonetheless.
It's probably different. It's just an area with a little bit rough of a cell phone connection, but it's all good. We've got you connected. Why do you think this got resolved today?
A couple of things. Number one, the issue with the Nets and specifically players and the front office is there was mistrust, from my understanding, with Steve Nash as well as Sean Marks as it related to players. And some of it is, I think, one of the byproducts of player empowerment is players running the show and them knowing their roles and forcing hands. And some people may be intimidated by that process. And, when you look at Sean Marks and you look at Steve Nash, I've always said that Steve Nash was a Sean Marks hire and not something that Durant and Kyrie agreed upon. From all of my reporting, Ty Lue was who Kevin Durant wanted back in 2019 as the head coach. And the two of them actually had a conversation from folks that I've spoken with. And, essentially in that conversation between Lue and Kevin Durant, Lou told Kev, listen, if you want me to be the head coach, you need to talk to Kai. Kai and Ty Lue's relationship, many people think it's soured in Cleveland. They're cool, but there's a difference between going back into war with somebody and just, being around them every day or casually. And so, I know that Phil Handy, Los Angeles Lakers assistant coach, was Kyrie's choice back in 2019. And, ultimately, I know that the Lakers would not grant him permission to interview for that job as an assistant. And so, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay, so ultimately, as it relates to Kevin and the Nets, it's kind of a restart, if you will, or a situation where, those guys need to work out whatever those issues were. I know that, over the years, Nets have made some trades that have kind of backfired. I never thought that they should have gotten rid of Karis LeVert as well as Jared Allen, but here we are. You see James Harden, and he's came and went, and you have Ben Simmons, and ultimately the Nets need to be on the same page and figure this out. I think they still do have a roster that could make it to the championship, but ultimately they got to be on one accord, be healthy, and a myriad of other things. And, here we are now. So they did resolve their issues, and they still got an 82-game season to play.
So Scoop, I want to dig a little bit into what you mentioned as far as Steve Nash being a Sean Marks hire, not Kevin and Kyrie, which has been the narrative out there for a long time. Would you say the narrative about the player transactions goes the same way? Like it's out there that, KD wanted Harden, KD and Kyrie wanted Harden, and they forced Sean Marks to do that. Was that also something that Sean just kind of did on his own and they didn't step in the way of it? And now KD is probably like, yo, you did that trade. We lost him. Steve Nash don't know. That's not who I wanted. I'm putting my foot down. Is that kind of how this whole thing is playing around?
So from my conversations with folks, Sean Marks did consult Kevin Durant on the ultimate James Harden move. As it relates to Kyrie, I know Kyrie and Karis LeVert had a good relationship, still have a good relationship. Their friends are friends, and more. Jared Allen, kind of the same thing. In a situation like this, from folks that I've spoken to, I take that and raise you this. And I'll get back to your question directly. When Kyrie and Kevin came to Brooklyn, it was a package deal that included DeAndre Jordan. And it was almost like, yo, look out for my man. If you remember in 2019, Jordan was traded to the Knicks. He had his vantage point of what was going on in New York City. And ultimately, when he came in, he was a package deal. And that was kind of the line of demarcation of where they realized their power and their bargaining chip. As it relates to the head coach that they had previously in Kenny Atkinson, Kenny, I know, and he's spoken the world of the team to this day. He's living his best life as an assistant with the Warriors. But ultimately, the Nets, those players did not have the final say on who they brought in as a head coach. As it relates to James Harden, he played with Kevin in Oklahoma, and he knows Kai from playing USA basketball together. You don't turn down the opportunity to be teammates with James Harden. I don't know that they were against it, but I think that where things do go left is the perception that the reason why Harden left Brooklyn is because of Kyrie Irving. And if you pay attention to my reporting with Kyrie, one thing you can say for certain, two things for sure, when it comes to him or the New Orleans Pelicans, I'm spot on. So I say this with knowledge. Kyrie's relationship with Kevin Durant and the whole vaccination thing was not the reason for Durant's ultimate departure. The issue was James Harden's relationship with Steve Nash. Steve Nash and James Harden didn't get along, and ultimately, partially, why he requested the trade. In addition to the fact that they were doing horribly with Kyrie being out. So the issue was more Nash than it was Kyrie.
Scoop, with Kyrie a free agent next year, what do you think the chances we're just back here again next summer?
I can't speak to that currently because I think this is a conversation where we're getting to a point where guys are agreeing and they're going into training camp. But what I can say with him going into negotiations into the offseason, he wants a longer-term deal. What I can also tell you is that his wife is from L.A. They do maintain residence in L.A. In the offseason. He's here now in L.A. And I think that if the Nets are in a situation where they do win a championship or get a little further than they have the last few years, perhaps we can broach that. But right now, I don't think it's fair to the process to kind of forecast that, just because these guys are not only stars, but they're talent, and people change their mind all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Scoop sound like a player. Scoop sound like a player. Okay.
I mean, I'm 6'5", my brother.
Hey, let's go. Can he shoot? We got a position down here in Sacramento. Back up Keegan Murray out here.
We need a wing.
Just give me a courtside seat, brother. I'm washed.
Oh, that's Kenny. Kenny got you. That's courtside Kenny over here. He got you.
Scoop, man. Hey, Scoop, come on out to Sacramento, man. We have a good time, man. We'll be doing a little champagne and campaigning out here,
Listen, man, 916. I'm gonna add that on my list during the regular season. I gotta come visit you guys and check you out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Scoop, real quick. Did you paid attention? You're an NBA guy. You're a sports guy, really. So it's not just the Nets or anything. You paid attention to what's going on out here in Sacramento. You got any thoughts about what they did in this offseason? Keegan Murray, all that other stuff.
I like the Keegan Murray move, yes. But I'll add, I really like Mike Brown's hire. I spent some time with Mike Brown during the finals between Boston and San Francisco. And he just was speaking reverently and glowingly about the opportunity to be a head coach in the NBA again. And he is of the mindset of, you just go in and make it happen. And I think one of the things that was beneficial for him, when Steve Kerr was out due to COVID, he really was scrimmaging as a coach, guiding that team in the playoffs. And I think that gave him some hidden confidence or an added confidence of kind of knowing what his role is going to be going into the season. But it's not going to be easy. I'm not talking about the Sacramento Kings as a championship team at all. But I do think that youth can go a long way. You look at the Pelicans last season. I was of the belief that, that team together with Willie Green was going to do great things. And I think when you come in as an unknown and a young team, people don't have expectations. So I really feel like you should kick in the door, as the late, great Biggie Smalls would say. And I'm excited for their future.
Yeah.
You mentioned Biggie Smalls, and that's a hell of a segue there, Scoop, because this is really what we brought you on to ask you. This is a conversation. It was meant to be a little throwaway topic. We were just having some fun talking during a commercial break. It lasted an hour.
There you go.
I need you to take yourself back to the early 2000s. All right, so you got 2000 to 2010. Who is the rapper of that decade?
2000 to 2010.
Yeah.
Well, I'm partial because I like Jay-Z, but I feel like he retired in 2003. So you kind of have to share it. You have to share that with Weezy as well.
Yeah, but that was a short.
Too. Yeah,
it was a short retirement though, Scoop. That's kind of what we like. Kingdom Come dropped. American Gangster dropped. I think the Blueprint 3 dropped. They all dropped in that decade.
It was, but he still did it in a time when I feel like when Jay retired, you still had G-Unit who had a short reign. Mm-hmm. You had Cash Money that had a short reign. Mm-hmm. You or Young Money rather. Then you're in a situation where, in addition to that, you also have all the Southern rap. So you had Paul Wall, you had all those other guys. I listen. I'm gonna support Jay through and through, but Lil Wayne still had his run, and you can't sell him short. Then in the 2009, 2010, here came Drake.
This is true. And then, but here's the other thing that we just
listening.
I know, right? Here's the other thing that we kind of, I don't want to say discovered, but we went back and looked at some things. Ye got started around like 04, and he went college dropout, late registration, graduation, 808s, and then he had one more before. He had Dark Twisted Fantasy was 2010.
You're right, and I'll never forget Kanye because that college dropout was my freshman year. You never forget the music that came out their freshman year of college.
That's right.
I'm young. I'm not yet 40, so you bring up a good point. You got me on the spot. If you had me kind of sitting and processing it a little more, the reception in this restaurant is horrible. You got me going in the bathroom talking to y'all like tunnels. Y'all got to give me some type of reprieve. I got to do this at a later time. But I think.
It's a fair answer. Like we settled on it is Jay. Like I think we definitively said it's Jay, but we settled on Jay, Ye, Wayne. Yeah. And then, if you did the fourth, it was probably Eminem.
Yeah, you can't sell him short either. I mean, I'll tell you this. I was telling my lady the other day, one of the biggest songs that I enjoyed when I would go take a test in college, or if I was arguing with somebody, the last scene in 8 Mile. I know something about you. Clarence parents got a good old marriage. You hit it on the head with it. I think we've just been blessed with a ton of just good music.
Absolutely. Scoop, man. Hey, we appreciate you for sure. You got the 916 on your radar now, man. You got to come out here, Champagne campaign with us. And during the season, man, you're Scoop for a reason. Like you're locked in, your hoop, all your other stuff. You got to come on here during the season, man. We got to talk hoop with you more often.
You have my word. I will be there.
Scoop, we appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
Thank you for the opportunity to be myself.
Yes, sir.
That's my man.